To add a little pizzazz to my winter decor, I made these beautiful and fun items: the snowflake, igloo, and the winter hanger. If you enjoy the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Enjoy! So I started with a coat of gesso acrylic primer, and I just painted that over the whole ornament. While the primer was drying, I made my foam clay embellishments. So I did two different sets of things. I did a bunch of snowflakes, and I did this more ornate piece that you see me putting the cornstarch in right now. That piece is going to be the topper. So I made two of those, and I'm going to press them together to make one piece. I brush in the cornstarch so that the clay doesn't stick to the mold when I try to get it out. When both pieces are done, I'm going to press them together to make one topper that's going to go over the ornament hanger. Next, I'm going to make some snowflakes, and I just took a bunch of different shapes and sizes, filled them all in with cornstarch, and I'll decide later which ones I really want to do. One tip for using the foam clay: every once in a while you won't get enough cornstarch in, it'll stick anyway. But the nice thing is you can take the piece out, redo the cornstarch, and do it again. So one thing I did after I made all of the snowflakes was I put the topper on top of the paint bottle so that it would sort of keep its shape, because the foam clay will sag a little bit as it's drying, and I wanted it to stay that shape so I could get it over top of the hanger. And I'm going to use Eileen's tacky glue to glue the foam clay onto the ornament. Once I have glue all over the parts that are actually going to be touching the ornament, I just hold it on for a few seconds to give it a chance to set up a little bit. I know it's not fully set, so I want to be careful with it as I'm doing the rest of the gluing. After I have that attached, I start gluing on the snowflakes. And I'm trying to get them fairly set on so all the points are touching the ornament. And you sort of have a choice. You can glue the pieces of foam clay, or you can glue the ornament and then tap it on. This time I chose to glue the little pieces, but I have tried both ways, and it really just depends on whether you're worried about seeing the glue around the little piece. Because if you do the ornament, then you're definitely going to see some. Now in this case it wouldn't matter because I'm going to paint it afterwards. But if you're doing it on top of your final surface, you probably want to put the glue on the little piece. Once I'm done gluing, I just take the end of the paintbrush I'm using to glue things and press down on some of the spots around the snowflakes. Because if you use your fingers, you end up smushing the foam clay a little too much. And the end of the paintbrush is easier to get in a little detailed. And now it's time to paint. So I'm going to paint the topper metallic silver. to paint the body of the ornament with metallic pearl. Now at this point there's still a good bit of silver left on my paintbrush, so it's going to sort of blend in without me having to do an extra painting step. While that's still wet, I'm going to take this metallic ice blue and sort of dry brush some on over top of what I've already painted with metallic pearl and silver. So I let all that dry, and then I'm going to take some more of the metallic pearl and paint the snowflakes. And once I've painted the snowflakes, I'm going to sprinkle some glitter. It's fine white glitter from Michael's Recollections collection. Here's how it turned out. So pretty and so easy to do with foam clay and a little paint. So for this craft, I used a slightly larger size plastic ornament than the last one. And then I took a piece of cardstock and I cut the entrance to my igloo. So I messed around with the shape and the size, but I ended up with a piece of cardstock that was probably about 1 by 6. Not 1 by 6, oh my gosh. 2 by 6. And then I folded it and bent it and twisted it and tried to make it the shape that the entrance to an igloo would be. But I also wanted it to sort of sit on the ground, on this surface, so that the igloo would not fall over. And I wanted to completely cover the ornament hanger part. So it's not the traditional shape and size exactly of an igloo, but it still looked pretty good. Before I glued the entrance on, I decided to make one tile of the foam clay bricks I'm going to use to make the texture on the igloo. So I have this mold that's basically various shapes of a sort of a stone brick pattern. So I just made a few of these shapes to cover the igloo, to make it look a little bit like it was made out of ice, but it also looks a little steampunky because this particular mold has little rivets in it, so it's kind of cool. So I made one of these while I was waiting for the hot glue to warm up. So then I just hot glued the igloo entrance onto the plastic ornament. And once the glue had stiffened up a little, I started to put the tiles, my ice tiles, onto the whole surface of the ornament. One thing I'm trying to do is make it sort of level with the surface, because the foam clay will bend a little bit, which a normal igloo obviously isn't going to bend, but I was okay with it as long as it didn't bend too much and I got a decent structure. One thing I'm trying to do as I go along is make sure the pieces are stuck to each other, so I am pushing on them a little bit. So I lose a little bit of the texture. But I don't want to glue this, I just want these to be attached, the clay attached to itself. Once I had all the big pieces attached, I started making smaller bricks to fill in the remainder of the igloo. Having the pieces be a little misshapen and not exactly looking like ice blocks, I think is partly what makes it look a little steampunk. So I'm kind of happy with it. And since I have lots of snowflake molds, I decided to add some snowflakes here and there on the surface. To get the glitter to stick, I put just a dab of tacky glue on each snowflake. Here's how it turned out. Very steampunky, very cool little igloo. The first thing I'm going to do is bend the hanger into the shape I want, and I decided to make sort of a rectangular shape. I'm going to start off with winding some yarn around the rectangle, and I'm going to tie a knot, and then I'm going to hot glue it in place, and then I'm just going to wind a few winds just to get enough that you can see the texture of the yarn going across, and hot glue it in a few places, especially once I get to the end of my section. I'm going to hot glue on this piece of white faux fur. I happen to have this in a craft stash. I've had it for years. I made a Santa Claus a long time ago, and I've had the fur just waiting for something like this to happen. So I just put a layer of hot glue at the top and hot glue at the bottom and make sure it sticks, and then I trim it. I also added a little hot glue along the last strand of yarn so that it would stay attached to it and not separate as the hanger gets older. I'm also going to put a narrower piece of fur on the other end of the hanger. So I'm going to add a piece of triangular white satin, and then I'm going to add a piece of white lace in between. between the spaces there, I'm going to add some deco mesh and tulle. So I'm taking some pipe cleaners and cutting them in half. Just one in each place I wanted to attach my deco mesh. And then I'm going to cut off pieces of deco mesh, roll them up, and attach a few of them on each piece of pipe cleaner. So I alternated the order I did them in and tried to make them look really festive. And once I was done with that, I took the ends of the pipe cleaners and brought them around to the back and wrapped them, tied a knot in them to make sure they stayed. And once that was done, I tried to fluff them up a little so they looked nice and full. And then I started hot gluing the ornaments on. So I have a few different sizes of these light blue ornaments, some sparkly ones, some shiny ones. And then I just put them wherever I felt like it, all over this hanger. So it's wintry, but it's still pretty and nice and sparkly, just like I like it. So a nice hanger for this time of year. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!